In the soft twilight between day and dreams, where shadows lengthen like gentle prayers and the last light whispers farewell to the earth, there exists a truth as old as the mountains and as tender as cherry blossoms falling on still water. Tonight, as you settle into the quiet embrace of evening, we journey together down an ancient path one walked by countless souls seeking the sacred understanding that no arrow of disrespect can wound the heart that knows its true nature. Before we begin this gentle pilgrimage of the spirit, if you find solace in these whispered teachings, these midnight meditations that carry the fragrance of temple incense and the wisdom of ages, feel free to subscribe to this humble offering. Let your light be as soft as a candle's glow, and share in the comments the corner of this beautiful world from which you listen tonight, whether from bustling cities or quiet countryside, from mountain peaks or ocean shores. We are all travelers on this same moonlit path. Picture, if you will, a single monk walking through a bamboo forest at dusk. His footsteps make no sound on the moss-covered earth. Above him, leaves rustle with secrets the wind has carried from distant temples. The air is thick with the scent of jasmine and the promise of rain. In his heart, he carries a truth that has been passed down through generations like a sacred flame, an understanding so profound, so liberating, that it transforms every moment of perceived slight into an invitation for deeper peace. Tonight, we walk beside this monk. We breathe the same evening air, feel the same gentle breeze against our faces, and open our hearts to receive the same ancient wisdom. For in the deepest teachings of the Buddha, in the most sacred texts written on palm leaves by candlelight, centuries ago, there lies a truth that can free us from the suffering of wounded pride, the ache of feeling diminished, the pain of believing we can be truly harmed by another's words or actions. As incense curls lazily upward in the temple of our imagination, as prayer flags flutter silently against a star-filled sky, we begin to understand the one who knows. Their true nature cannot be disrespected, for they rest in something far deeper than the opinions of others. They dwell in the vast, unchanging awareness that is our birthright, our home, our very essence. Let us begin this journey together, dear friend. Let your breathing slow, your shoulders soften, your mind release its hold on the day's concerns. We are entering sacred space now, the realm where wisdom lives not in the head, but in the heart, where teachings arrive not as doctrine, but as gentle rain falling on the garden of awe. Consciousness. Asterisk, what is the sound of dignity before it meets the us? World? What remains when all the armor falls away, when all the defenses we have built like castle walls around our tender hearts crumble into dust? In the space between one breath and the next, in the pause between one thought and another, there lives a question that has echoed through temple halls for thousands of years. Can the sky be wounded by the flight of birds? Can the ocean be diminished by the waves that dance upon its surface? Tonight, as moonbeams filter through your window, like silver threads weaving dreams, we sit with this ancient mystery. Imagine yourself beside a mountain lake at dawn, its surface so still it mirrors the heavens perfectly. A small stone is thrown into its depths. Ripples spread outward in ever-widening circles, disturbing their reflection for a moment. But watch, listen, feel what happens next. The ripples fade, the surface smooths, and once again, the lake becomes a perfect mirror of sky and clouds and mountains. The lake was never truly disturbed. It received the stone, acknowledged its presence, and returned to its natural state of peaceful reflection. This is the first whisper of our teaching tonight. In the Zen temples of ancient Japan, masters would sit with their students in gardens where cherry blossoms fell like snow. They would ask, when someone speaks harshly to you, who is really being spoken to? When someone tries to diminish you, what exactly can be diminished? The students would sit with these questions not to find clever answers, But to sink below the surface of thinking into the deeper waters of understanding God, there is a story told. In the monasteries of Tibet, where prayer wheels spin in the mountain wind and monks chant as the sun rises over peaks that touch the sky, a young monk approached his teacher, tears streaming down his face. "Master," he said, "the villagers mock my shaved head and simple robes. They call me useless, say I contribute nothing to the world. Their words cut like knives into my heart." The old teacher smiled gently and led the young monk to a window overlooking a vast valley. "Tell me," the teacher said, "what do you see?" The young monk replied, "I see mountains, rivers, forests, and sky." "And tell me," the teacher continued, "do the mountains weep when the wind calls them stubborn? Do the rivers feel shame when stones call them restless? Does the sky feel insulted when clouds call it empty?" The young monk stood silent, and in that silence, something began to shift. Like ice melting under the warmth of spring sun, his understanding began to change. The teacher placed a gentle hand on his shoulder and whispered, "You are not separate from these mountains, these rivers, this sky. You are not a small, fragile thing that can be broken by words. You are the vastness itself, temporarily wearing the costume of a human form." In this moment of recognition, dear listener, we begin to sense something profound. The part of us that can be disrespected is like clothing we wear, useful, necessary perhaps, but not our true nature. Beneath the clothes of personality, beneath the roles we play and the identities we construct, there lives something untouchable, something that no amount of criticism or cruelty can reach. Feel this now, as you rest in the comfort of your bed, surrounded by the soft darkness of night. Feel how your awareness remains constant, whether thoughts are kind or harsh, whether the day brought praise or blame. This awareness, this simple knowing that you exist, that you are conscious, that you are here, this cannot be disrespected any more than space can be painted, or silence can be broken by noise. The Buddha taught that we suffer not because of what happens to us, but because of our relationship to what happens to us. When we identify completely with our roles, our achievements, our reputations, then any attack on these feels like an attack on our very existence. But what if, and breathe gently with this possibility, what if we are so much more vast than these temporary forms? What if we are the ocean pretending to be worried about the waves? In the quiet temples of Burma, where golden Buddhas sit in eternal meditation, there is a teaching written on ancient walls. The awakened one cannot be insulted, for they know that insults are like echoes in an empty canyon. They arise, they fade, and the vastness remains unchanged. This is not a philosophy to be understood with the mind, but a truth to be felt in the depths of being dot as we continue our gentle journey into sleep and wisdom. Let this question rest in your heart like a seed planted in fertile soil. If you are, not your thoughts, your roles, your reputation, or your past, if you are not even your body or your personality, then what exactly is there to disrespect? And who is it that would feel disrespected? Let these questions dissolve like sugar in warm tea, sweetening your rest without demanding answers. For sometimes the deepest teachings come not through understanding, but through the grace of not knowing, through resting in the mystery of our own infinite nature. Asterisk, asterisk, in the sacred texts written on palm leaves by candlelight, in the sutras chanted at dawn in monasteries perched on mountain cliffs, there flows a river of wisdom that has nourished countless hearts across the centuries. Tonight, as the world settles into its evening peace, we dip our cupped hands into this ancient stream and drink deeply of teachings that are as fresh as morning dew, as relevant to our modern hearts as they were to seekers in ages past. The Buddha, sitting beneath the Bodhi tree 25 centuries ago, his body still as carved stone, his mind clear as mountain air, spoke these gentle words to his disciples. Hatred is never appeased by hatred in this world. It is only appeased by non-hatred. This is an eternal law. But tonight, let us feel the deeper current beneath these words. What he was truly pointing to was not a moral rule to follow, but a fundamental truth about the nature of reality itself, that we cannot be diminished by what flows toward us from others, only by what we choose to hold on to within ourselves. Imagine, if you will, walking through a monastery garden at twilight. Lotus flowers float serenely on a still pond, their petals soft as silk, their roots deep in the mud below. A young novice approaches, carrying a lantern that casts dancing shadows on the stone path. She has been studying the Dhammapada, that ancient collection of the Buddha's verses, and her heart is troubled. "Teacher," she whispers to the evening air, "how can I learn not to feel hurt when others speak unkindly? The world seems so full of harsh words and judgmental eyes." The old groundskeeper, bent with age but radiant with understanding, pauses in his sweeping of fallen leaves. "Child," he says gently, "come sit by the lotus pond." They settle on worn stones, still warm from the day's sun. "Tell me," he continues, "what happens to the lotus when rain falls upon it?" The novice watches as evening mist begins to gather over the water. "The raindrops roll right off the petals," she observes. "The lotus remains clean and beautiful." The groundskeeper nods slowly. "And what if someone were to shout angrily at the lotus? What if they called it ugly or worthless?" A soft smile plays across the novice's lips as understanding begins to dawn. The lotus would remain unchanged. It would continue to be beautiful, to grow toward the light. "Exactly so," the old man whispers. "The lotus teaches us the deepest truth of the middle way. We need not become hard like stone to avoid being hurt. We need not build walls around our hearts or develop thick skin like armor. We simply remember our true nature like the lotus. We are rooted in something deeper than the surface storms of human interaction." In the ancient Pali texts, preserved like precious jewels in the monasteries of Southeast Asia, we find the teaching of mudita, sympathetic joy, the ability to rejoice in the happiness of others, even when they have treated us poorly. But more profound still is the understanding that beneath this practice lies a recognition. Those who disrespect others are themselves suffering, caught in the web of their own confusion and pain. The awakened heart sees this clearly and responds, not with hurt or anger, but with compassion for the suffering that drives such behavior. There is a sutra, whispered in the meditation halls, where monks sit in rows like mountains of stillness, that speaks of the diamond consciousness, a way of being that is so clear, so present, so rooted in awareness itself, that all experiences pass through it like light through crystal, leaving no stain, no residue, no wound. When someone attempts to disrespect us, their words and actions meet this diamond clarity and are transformed, becoming opportunities for deeper understanding rather than sources of suffering. Feel this now, dear listener, as you sink deeper into the soft embrace of your pillows. Feel how your awareness remains untouched by whatever thoughts arise, whatever memories surface, whatever emotions flow through the landscape of your inner experience. This awareness, this simple, ever-present knowing, is your diamond nature. It cannot be cracked by criticism, cannot be tarnished by others' opinions, cannot be diminished by the storms that rage in the world of form and name. The great teacher Nagarjuna, whose writings illuminated the path for countless seekers, taught about sunyata, emptiness, or voidness. But this emptiness is not a blank nothingness. It is the spacious awareness in which all experiences arise and dissolve. When we rest in this spaciousness, when we identify not with the temporary forms that appear in consciousness, but with consciousness itself, then we discover something remarkable. There is literally no solid, separate self that can be disrespected. We are like space itself, vast, open, accommodating all without being affected by anything. In the tea ceremonies of Zen temples, where every movement is a meditation, where every gesture carries the fragrance of awakening, masters would often say, "The way of tea teaches us to receive all guests with equal grace, the bitter and the sweet, the rough and the refined." In the same way, the awakened heart receives all experiences praise and blame, kindness and cruelty, with the same serene acceptance. This is not passive resignation, but the profound understanding that our peace does not depend on how others treat us, but on our willingness to remain rooted in our essential nature. As the ancient Tibetan saying goes, "You can throw 1,000 stones into the lake, but the water will continue to be water." Tonight, as you prepare to dream, let this truth settle into your bones. You are the water, vast and unchanging. The stones of others' words and actions may create temporary ripples on your surface, but they cannot alter what you fundamentally are. You are the awareness in which all experiences arise and pass away. You are the sky in which all weather comes and goes. You are the silence in which all sounds appear and dissolve. And in this recognition, dear friend, lies the deepest teaching of all. No one can disrespect you because there is no separate, solid you to be disrespected. There is only this vast, loving awareness, wearing the costume of your name and form, playing the role of a human being for a brief and beautiful moment in the endless dance of existence. Asterisk, asterisk, in the mountain monastery of Tashilhunpo, where prayer flags flutter like colorful prayers against an endless sky, there lived an old monk named Tenzin, whose face carried the weathered beauty of stone carved by centuries of wind and rain. His eyes held the depth of mountain lakes, and his smile contained such gentleness that even the wild snow leopards would approach him without fear. The other monks often wondered at his unshakable peace, for he had endured much suffering in his long life exile from his homeland, the loss of family, years of hardship that would have broken lesser spirits. One autumn evening, as golden leaves danced on the monastery courtyard like prayers made manifest, a delegation of Western visitors arrived at the gates. Among them was a man whose heart was heavy with bitterness, whose tongue was sharp with the acid of years of resentment. He had come to Tibet seeking answers, but his approach was confrontational, his manner aggressive. He had read of Buddhism in books, but understood little of its essence, believing it to be weakness disguised as wisdom. During the evening teaching, this visitor interrupted repeatedly, his voice rising with each challenge. "How can you speak of peace," he demanded, "when you have been driven from your homes? How can you talk of non-violence when your people suffer? This teaching of yours is nothing but cowardice, a refusal to stand up for yourselves. You monks, hide behind your robes and your pretty words while the world burns around you." The other visitors shifted uncomfortably, embarrassed by their companion's rudeness. The younger monks looked to their elder, waiting to see how he would respond to such open disrespect. But Tenzin simply smiled, his hands folded gently in his lap like lotus buds at rest. When the angry man finished his tirade, the monastery fell into a silence so profound that even the mountain wind seemed to pause and listen. Then Tenzin spoke, his voice as soft as snow falling on pine branches. "Thank you, my friend, for your passion. I can see that you carry great pain in your heart, and pain makes us all speak in ways we might not otherwise choose." The angry man's face flushed deeper. "Don't patronize me, old man. I came here for answers, not for your condescending sympathy." But Tenzin continued as if the harsh words were gentle raindrops on his consciousness. "Many years ago," he said, "I too carried such fire in my belly. I was young then, proud of my learning, convinced that the world needed to be set right by my righteous anger. I remember the day soldiers came to our village. They destroyed our temple, scattered our sacred texts to the wind like autumn leaves. They laughed as they did it, mocking everything we held dear." The angry visitor found himself leaning forward. Despite his resistance, caught by something in the old monk's voice, not the practiced tone of a teacher, but the raw honesty of lived experience. I watched my teacher, an ancient man who had devoted 70 years to the Dharma, as these soldiers struck him with their rifle butts, called him worthless, spat upon his robes. And do you know what he did? Tenzin's eyes grew distant, looking back across decades. He smiled, not a false smile, not a pretense, but a smile of such genuine compassion that even some of the soldiers stopped what they were doing and stared. The monastery courtyard had grown completely still. Even the prayer flags hung motionless, as if the very air was listening. Later, as we fled into the mountains, carrying our wounded teacher on a makeshift stretcher, I asked him how he could smile in the face of such cruelty. "My dear boy," he whispered, his voice weak but his eyes clear as starlight, "those men were trying to destroy something that cannot be destroyed. They were striking at shadows, grasping at reflections in water. The more violently they attacked what they thought we were, the more clearly I could see what we actually are." Tenzin paused, letting the words settle like snow on the assembled listeners. The angry visitor found that his rage had mysteriously quieted, replaced by something he couldn't name, a curiosity, perhaps, or a recognition of something he had lost long ago. My teacher died 3 days later, still smiling, still radiating a peace that no amount of violence had been able to touch. And in that moment, I understood what he had been trying to teach me all those years. We cannot be disrespected because we are not what others think we are. We are not our roles, our possessions, our reputations, or even our bodies. We are the awareness in which all these things appear and disappear like clouds in an endless sky. The old monk's voice grew even softer, and the listeners found themselves holding their breath to catch his words. When someone tries to disrespect us, they are fighting with their own imagination, wrestling with their own projections. They cannot touch what we truly are any more than they can grasp the moon's reflection in a pond. The water may ripple, the image may distort, but the moon itself remains unchanged in the sky. The angry visitor felt something breaking open in his chest, not breaking apart, but breaking open, like a seed that has been buried too long in hard soil. Tears began to stream down his face, tears he had been holding back for years. "But how?" he whispered. "How do you find such peace when the world is so full of cruelty?" Tenzin stood slowly, his aged body moving with the dignity of mountains, and walked over to the man. Gently, without asking permission, he placed his weathered hand on the visitor's shoulder. The same way the sky finds peace in the midst of storms, my friend, by remembering what it is. You are not the storm of others' opinions. You are not the lightning of their anger or the thunder of their judgment. You are the sky itself, vast, spacious, unchanging, in which all weather comes and goes. As the evening stars began to appear in the darkening sky above the monastery, the angry man felt something he hadn't experienced in years. A profound stillness, a sense of coming home to himself. In that sacred courtyard, surrounded by the gentle presence of monks who had found peace in the midst of great suffering, he began to understand that respect and disrespect were just weather patterns in the sky of consciousness, temporary, ever-changing, and ultimately powerless to alter the fundamental nature of what we are. That night, as the monastery settled into its evening peace, the visitor sat in meditation for the first time in his life, not trying to find answers or fix anything, but simply resting in the awareness that Tenzin had pointed, the awareness that had been there all along. Patient as mountains, gentle as moonlight, untouched by all the storms that had raged through his life. And in that resting, he discovered what countless seekers before him had found, that the deepest respect comes not from others' opinions of us, but from our own recognition of what we truly are. In the vast temple of consciousness, we are both the worshipper and the worshipped, both the seeker and the sought, both the question and the answer, forever whole, forever free, forever beyond the reach of anyone's capacity to diminish what cannot be diminished. Asterisk, asterisk. Now, dear traveler of the inner landscape, as the monastery bells of our story fade into the distance like echoes in a mountain valley, we turn our steps inward, following a path that leads not through forests of bamboo or gardens of lotus, but through the infinite territory of your own being. Here, in this sacred inner space, we discover the most profound teaching of all. That which seeks respect and fears disrespect is but a shadow cast by something far more luminous, far more real. Breathe with me now, slowly, gently, as if each breath were a prayer offered to the temple of your own heart. Feel how the air enters your lungs like a blessing, how it flows out like a soft whisper of gratitude. In this simple act of breathing, you are already touching the threshold of a great mystery. For who or what is it that breathes? Who is it that notices the breath? This aware presence that observes the rise and fall of your chest, the gentle rhythm that connects you to every living being. This is where our deepest inquiry begins. Imagine yourself sitting beside a still forest pool at dawn, the water so clear you can see smooth stones resting on the bottom like meditation cushions. The surface is perfectly calm, mirroring the awakening sky above. Suddenly, a small fish darts through the depths, creating ripples that spread outward in ever-widening circles. Watch how the reflection of clouds and sky becomes distorted, fragmented, seemingly broken. Yet something remains unchanged: the water itself, the clear medium in which all these movements arise and dissolve. This is the first glimpse into your true nature. Beloved listener, you are like this clear water, the aware space in which all experiences arise. When someone speaks harshly to you, it is like that fish darting through the depths, creating ripples on the surface of your consciousness. Your thoughts may become agitated, your emotions stirred, your sense of self seemingly disturbed. But the awareness in which these ripples appear, this remains as clear and undisturbed as ever. Let us go deeper still, like divers descending into the ocean of being. With each gentle breath, allow yourself to sink below the surface waves of daily concern, below the choppy waters of personality and role, down into the vast depths where silence reigns and peace is not an achievement, but your very nature. Here, in these profound depths, we begin to understand what the ancient sages meant when they spoke of the self beyond the self, not another identity to acquire, but the recognition of what you have always been. In the sacred caves of ancient India, where yogis sat in meditation for decades at a time, there developed a profound understanding of what they called Sakshi Bhava, the witness consciousness. This witness is not someone watching, not a separate observer standing apart from experience, but the pure awareness in which all experience unfolds. Like space itself, it accommodates everything without being affected by anything. The witness cannot be insulted because it has no image to defend. It cannot be disrespected because it has no separate existence to be threatened. Feel this now, this witnessing awareness that is reading these words, that is aware of your body resting comfortably, that notices without judgment whatever thoughts or feelings might be present. This awareness, can it be young or old? Can it be successful or failed? Can it be respected or disrespected? Notice how it remains completely untouched by any labels or descriptions we might apply to it. It is like the sky that remains unchanged, whether birds fly through it or storms rage within it. As you sink deeper into this recognition, like a stone settling gently to the bottom of a clear lake, you begin to discover something extraordinary. There is no solid, separate you to be found anywhere. There are thoughts arising and dissolving like clouds in the sky of mind. There are sensations appearing and disappearing like waves on the ocean of the body. There are emotions flowing and changing like weather patterns in the atmosphere of the heart. But who you truly are, this aware presence in which all these phenomena dance, this cannot be grasped, cannot be defined, and therefore cannot be disrespected. The great sage Ramana Maharshi, who spent his life pointing seekers toward this profound understanding, would often ask, "Who am I?" Not as a philosophical question to be answered with the mind, but as a direct invitation to dive beneath all identities, all roles, all concepts of selfhood, until only pure awareness remains. When someone would come to him complaining of being insulted or disrespected, he would smile gently and ask, "Who is insulted? Find this one who feels hurt, and show them to me." Invariably, the seeker would begin to look inward, searching for this solid self that felt wounded. They would examine their thoughts, but thoughts come and go, and what they truly are remains constant. They would identify with their emotions, but emotions arise and pass away like weather, while their essential nature is like the sky in which all weather appears. They would grasp at their body, their memory, their personality, but all of these are temporary appearances in the eternal awareness that they are not. And in this searching, this gentle investigation, something wonderful would happen. They would discover that what they had taken to be a solid, separate self was actually just a collection of thoughts, feelings, sensations, and memories arising in the vast space of consciousness. Like mirages in the desert, these seemed solid and real from a distance, but dissolved into emptiness when approached with careful attention. This is the great liberation that the Buddha pointed to under the Bodhi tree, that Jesus spoke of when he said, "Before Abraham was, I am," that the Sufi mystics danced toward in their whirling ecstasy. It is the recognition that what we truly are cannot be born or die, cannot succeed or fail, cannot be honored or dishonored, because it is the very awareness in which all such dualities appear. Feel this truth now, gentle dreamer, as you rest in the soft darkness of your room. Feel how your awareness remains perfectly at peace, regardless of what arises within it. This peace is not something you create or maintain through effort. It is your natural state, like the natural state of water to be wet or fire to be warm. When you rest in this natural peace, when you remember that you are the awareness in which all experience unfolds, then you discover the ultimate teaching. There is literally no one there to be disrespected. This is not a denial of your human experience, not a spiritual bypassing of the very real challenges of living in a world where people sometimes speak and act unkindly. It is rather the discovery of an unshakable foundation beneath all experience, a ground of being so vast and stable that it can accommodate any weather without being disturbed by it. From this foundation, you can engage fully with life, can respond to kindness and cruelty with equal wisdom, can participate in the human dance while never forgetting the eternal stillness that is your true home dot as you continue to sink into sleep, into the natural dissolution of the day's identities and concerns. Carry this understanding with you into the realm of dreams. You are not the dreamer, but the awareness in which all dreams arise and dissolve. You are not the character in the story of your life, but the consciousness in which all stories appear and disappear. You are not a separate wave on the ocean of existence, but the ocean itself, temporarily taking the form of a wave for the sheer joy of experiencing itself from a new perspective. As you continue to sink into sleep, into the natural dissolution of the day's identities and concerns, carry this understanding with you into the realm of dreams. You are not the dreamer, but the awareness in which all dreams arise and dissolve. You are not the character in the story of your life, but the consciousness in which all stories appear and disappear. You are not a separate wave on the ocean of existence, but the ocean itself, temporarily taking the form of a wave for the sheer joy of experiencing itself from a new perspective. And from this understanding, dear friend, comes the deepest compassion, not only for yourself, but for all beings who have forgotten their true nature and believe themselves to be small, separate selves that can be wounded by words or actions. For we see now that when someone attempts to disrespect another, they are like a person trying to cut water with a sword or capture the wind in a net. They are struggling with their own projections, fighting with their own shadows, lost in a dream of separation that has no ultimate reality. Rest in this knowing now, this gentle recognition of what you have always been. Let it carry you into the deepest sleep, the most peaceful dreams, knowing that what you truly are remains forever untouched, forever whole, forever free. Asterisk in the hidden valleys of ancient wisdom, where few travelers venture and fewer still discover. The secrets that dwell in shadow and silence. There exist teachings so subtle, so paradoxical, so beautifully surprising that they turn our ordinary understanding upside down like autumn leaves caught in a sudden gust of mountain wind. Tonight, as we wander deeper into these forgotten paths of understanding, we stumble upon treasures that have been buried beneath centuries of conventional thinking, jewels of insight that shine with their own inner light. There is a story, whispered in the meditation halls of forgotten monasteries, of a Zen master who lived in a small temple at the edge of a busy village. This master had achieved something remarkable, a reputation for being completely uninsultable. Merchants would test him with crude jokes. Politicians would mock his simple ways. Even children would throw stones at his temple walls, yet nothing could disturb his profound equanimity. Word of this strange monk spread far and wide, until one day a famous scholar arrived, determined to break this man's legendary composure. The scholar was brilliant, learned in all the classical texts, skilled in debate, and renowned for his cutting wit. He approached the master as he sat in meditation beneath a gnarled cherry tree and unleashed a torrent of the most sophisticated insults ever devised, questioning the master's intelligence, his spiritual achievement, his worth as a human being, using language so clever and cutting that even the birds seemed to fall silent in the trees above. When the scholar finished his elaborate attack, he stood back, satisfied, waiting for some sign that his words had found their mark. But the master simply opened his eyes, smiled with a warmth that seemed to embrace the entire universe, and said quietly, "Thank you for that beautiful gift. I wish I had something equally valuable to offer you in return." The scholar was stunned. "Gift?" he sputtered. "Those were insults, you foolish old man. The most carefully crafted insults you will ever hear." The master nodded gently. "Yes, exactly. And gifts they were indeed. You see, my friend, I am like a child on their birthday, delighted by every present brought to me. When you offer me anger, I receive it as a gift of your energy. When you bring me insults, I accept them as offerings of your attention. When you present me with hatred, I welcome it as a demonstration of your passion. All gifts are precious when received by one who knows their true nature." The scholar felt his world tilting, as if the very ground beneath his feet had become uncertain. But how can insults be gifts? The master gestured to the cherry tree above them, its branches heavy with blossoms that fell like snow in the gentle breeze. "Tell me," he said, "when these petals fall, does the tree feel insulted by gravity? When the wind bends its branches, does it cry out in protest? The tree receives all forces, gentle rain and fierce storms, loving caresses and violent winds, with the same gracious acceptance. It knows that it is not separate from the forces that act upon it. They are all movements in the same dance of existence. This is one of the most profound secrets hidden in the deepest teachings, dear listener. What we call disrespect is actually a form of energy, a movement in the field of consciousness, neither good nor bad in itself. It only becomes suffering when we resist it, when we create a story about what it means, when we take it personally. But when we receive it as the master received the scholar's insults, as pure energy offered by the universe for our consideration, it transforms from poison into medicine, from attack into gift. In the ancient Taoist texts, written by sages who understood the subtle currents that flow beneath the surface of all experience. There is a teaching about Wu Wei, often translated as non-action, but more accurately understood as non-resistance. When we flow like water around the obstacles in our path, when we bend like bamboo in the wind rather than standing rigid like an oak, we discover something remarkable. Nothing can truly oppose us because we oppose nothing in return. The great Taoist master Chuang Tzu told a story of a man who was so ugly that men would flee at the sight of him and women would faint in terror. Yet this man had gathered around him the most devoted friends and followers anyone had ever seen. When asked his secret, the ugly man replied, "I have no idea why people are drawn to me. I can only assume it is because I never think about my appearance, never worry about others' opinions of me, never resist what I am, or try to be what I am not." Perhaps people are attracted to the peace that comes from total self-acceptance. This points to one of the deepest paradoxes of spiritual life. The moment we stop defending ourselves, we become invulnerable. The moment we cease trying to control others' opinions of us, we become free of their power to hurt us. It is like trying to fight our own shadow. The more we struggle against it, the more vigorously it seems to fight back. But when we simply turn toward the light, the shadow naturally falls behind us. Forgotten and powerless dot, there is another secret teaching, found in the mystical traditions of many cultures, about the nature of projection. What we call disrespect often tells us more about the one speaking than the one being spoken to. When someone calls us stupid, they reveal their own fear of stupidity. When someone calls us worthless, they expose their own feelings of inadequacy. When someone attacks our character, they show us the aspects of themselves they cannot accept. The awakened heart receives these projections not as attacks, but as communications from wounded souls, as unconscious requests for healing. In the Sufi tradition, there is a saying, "When someone throws stones at you, throw back flowers." This is not mere sentiment, but a recognition that cruelty is always born from suffering, and suffering calls not for more suffering in return, but for the medicine of compassion. But perhaps the most surprising teaching of all is this: the very people who seem to disrespect us most are often our greatest teachers in disguise. They show us exactly where we still believe ourselves to be, separate, where we still identify with temporary forms rather than eternal essence. They point out, with the precision of a laser, the places where our ego still thinks it exists as something solid and defendable. In the Zen tradition, there are stories of masters who would purposely provoke their students, not out of cruelty, but out of compassion, to help them discover the places where they were still attached, still believing in the reality of a separate self that could be wounded. These provocations were called Dharma combat, not battles to be won or lost, but opportunities for awakening. Feel this now, as you rest in the gentle embrace of night. Every challenging person in your life, everyone who has ever seemed to disrespect or dismiss you, has been a secret teacher, pointing you back toward the recognition of your true nature. They are like fingers pointing at the moon of your own awakening, and we have been so busy looking at the fingers, being upset by the fingers, that we have missed the moon entirely. This is the ultimate surprise, the most hidden truth of all. In a universe where everything is consciousness appearing as a multiplicity of forms, there are no enemies, only unconscious teachers. There is no disrespect, only opportunities for deeper awakening. There are no wounds, only invitations to discover what cannot be wounded. As you drift deeper into the realm of dreams, carry this secret with you. You live in a universe that is perfectly designed to awaken you to your own true nature. Every experience, no matter how challenging, is a gift wrapped in the paper of appearance, containing within it the golden truth of what you are. And what you are, dear friend, is so vast, so luminous, so untouchably beautiful that all the perceived disrespect in the world cannot dim your radiance by even the smallest degree. Asterisk, asterisk, in the deepest hours of night, when the world is grown quiet as a temple after evening prayers, when even the wind holds its breath and the stars lean closer to whisper their ancient secrets, we find ourselves at the threshold of a profound mystery. What is this thing we call suffering? What is this peace we seek? Like shadows cast by moonlight, they seem so real, so substantial. Yet when we reach out to touch them, our fingers close on empty air. Asterisk. Imagine yourself floating now on a gentle river that flows through the landscape of your own being. The water is warm as summer rain, crystal clear, carrying you effortlessly downstream. On either bank, you see the familiar landmarks of yore. Life memories rising like mountains, thoughts drifting past like flowering meadows, emotions flowing in and out like tributaries joining the main current. You are not struggling against the flow, not trying to paddle upstream or grasp at the shores. You are simply allowing yourself to be carried by this river of consciousness, this endless stream of experiencing God. As you float in this dreamy peace, a question arises like a lotus blooming in the depths. Where does suffering actually live? Is it in the events that happen to us, like stones thrown into our peaceful waters? Is it in the words others speak, like winds that ruffle our surface? Or does it exist somewhere else entirely, in some hidden chamber of our own creation? The Buddha, in his first teaching after awakening, spoke of the Four Noble Truths, but tonight let us feel their essence rather than analyze their meaning. He pointed to suffering not as something imposed upon us from outside, but as something we manufacture within ourselves through a simple case of mistaken identity. We suffer, he taught, because we believe ourselves to be separate entities moving through a hostile world, when in truth we are the world itself, temporarily experiencing itself through the lens of individual consciousness. Picture a wave on the ocean, rising high and proud, believing itself to be separate from the water around it. It sees other waves and feels competitive, threatened, diminished by their size or beauty. It struggles to maintain its form, to be noticed, to be respected by the other waves. It suffers when storms make it choppy, when calm weather makes it small, when other waves seem more impressive. But what if this wave suddenly remembered that it is not separate from the ocean? What if it realized that it is the ocean, temporarily taking the form of a wave for the pure joy of experiencing oceanness? From a new perspective, in that moment of remembering, all suffering would cease. The wave would still rise and fall, would still interact with other waves, would still experience the full spectrum of oceanic life. But it would no longer suffer because it would know that nothing real could be threatened, nothing true could be diminished, nothing eternal could be lost. This is the deepest secret of peace, dear dreamer. It is not the absence of difficulty or challenge. It is not a state we achieve through meditation or good behavior. It is the natural condition of consciousness when it remembers its own nature. Like a bird that has been walking on the ground, struggling with every step, suddenly remembering that it has wings and taking to the sky. The effort was never in learning to fly, but simply in remembering what it had always been capable of. In the meditation caves of ancient Tibet, where yogis sat in contemplation for lifetimes, there developed a profound understanding of what they called the view, not a philosophical position, but a direct seeing of reality as it actually is. From this view, they saw that suffering and peace are not opposite states battling for dominance in consciousness, but rather different ways of relating to the same unchanging awareness. Suffering is like a dream in which we have forgotten we are dreaming. We become completely identified with the dream character, experiencing all its fears and desires as absolutely real. We run from dream tigers, weep over dream losses, fight dream battles with desperate intensity. But the moment we remember we are dreaming, everything changes. The tigers are still there, the losses still occur, The battles still rage, but we are no longer devastated by them, because we know they are not ultimately real. Peace is like lucid dreaming, full participation in the dream of life with complete remembrance of what we truly are. We engage completely with the play of existence, while never forgetting that it is play. We respond to disrespect, not because our separate self feels threatened, but because compassionate action naturally arises from the understanding that the one who disrespects is caught in a nightmare of separation and deserves our loving response. Feel this now as you sink deeper into the soft embrace of your bed, deeper into the natural peace that is your birthright. Notice how, beneath all the day's experiences, the moments of joy and frustration, success and disappointment, connection and loneliness, there has been a constant presence, a aware stillness that has witnessed everything without being changed by anything. This stillness is not empty or boring. It is vibrant with potential, pregnant with infinite possibility, rich with a peace that surpasses all understanding. The ancient Vedantic sages called this Sat Chit Anda, existence, consciousness, bliss. Not three separate qualities, but three faces of the one reality that you are. You exist not as a separate entity, but as existence itself. You are conscious not as a mind thinking thoughts, but as consciousness itself, appearing as thoughts. You are blissful, not because everything in your life is pleasant, but because you are the very nature of contentment, the source from which all happiness flows. When someone attempts to disrespect this vast reality that you are, it is like trying to insult the sky by cursing at it, or trying to wound the ocean by throwing stones into it. The sky remains sky, the ocean remains ocean, and you remain the infinite awareness in which all experiences of respect and disrespect arise and dissolve, like clouds in an endless sky. But here is the most beautiful paradox of all. As we discover our invulnerability to disrespect, we simultaneously discover infinite capacity for compassion. When we no longer need to defend ourselves, all our energy becomes available for understanding and healing. When we no longer feel threatened by others' unconsciousness, we can respond to their suffering with genuine love rather than reactive fear. This is why the greatest saints and sages throughout history have been characterized not by their ability to avoid conflict, but by their capacity to remain peaceful in the midst of it. They had discovered the ultimate secret. Peace is not the absence of storms, but the recognition that we are the vast sky in which all storms arise and pass away. As you prepare to dream, beloved friend, let this understanding settle into your bones like warmth from a glowing hearth. You are not a separate being seeking peace in a hostile world. You are peace itself, temporarily forgetting your nature and playing the role of a seeker. The journey home is not a matter of traveling somewhere else, but of remembering where you have always been. And in this remembering, suffering does not disappear, it transforms. It becomes like the weather in your sky of awareness, notable, sometimes intense, but never threatening to your essential nature. You can experience the full spectrum of human emotion while resting in the unshakable peace of knowing what you truly are. This truth carry you into the deepest sleep, the most peaceful dreams. You are the awareness in which all experience unfolds, the silence in which all sounds arise, the stillness in which all movement dances. And from this understanding comes the ultimate freedom, not the freedom from life's challenges, but the freedom to meet them all with the same unshakable peace that is your very nature. Asterisk, asterisk, in the gentle space between sleeping and waking, where thoughts become as light as morning mist, and the boundaries between inner and outer worlds dissolve like sugar in warm tea, we discover one of life's most profound arts, the art of letting go. Not the violent release of forcing something away, not the bitter surrender of defeat, but the graceful opening of hands that have been clenched too long around things that were never ours to hold. Picture yourself walking along a moonlit beach. where the waves whisper secrets to the shore in languages older than words. In your hands, you carry a collection of beautiful shells. Some you've treasured for years, others you picked up just today. Each shell represents something you've been holding on to: the need for others' approval, the sting of old insults, the weight of past disappointments, the fear of future rejections. As you walk, you notice how heavy your hands have become, how tired your arms feel from carrying these accumulated treasures that have somehow become burdens. The moonlight catches the surface of the water, and you see something remarkable. Each wave that reaches the shore carries with it shells, seaweed, driftwood, 1,000 gifts from the ocean's depths. But the wave doesn't clutch these gifts to itself. It offers them freely to the sand, then flows back into the sea, empty-handed but somehow more beautiful in its emptiness, ready to receive whatever the next moment might bring. Asterisk, asterisk. This is the first teaching of letting go. Dear dreamer, true freedom comes not from accumulating experiences or achievements, or even respect from others, but from our willingness to hold everything lightly, to receive what comes with gratitude and release what goes with grace. The wave is never diminished by its giving, never impoverished by its lack of attachment. It simply flows in the eternal rhythm of receiving and releasing, taking and giving, being full and being empty. But what does it mean to let go of the need to be respected? In the Zen monasteries of old Japan, where monks swept courtyards with the same devotion they brought to meditation, there was a profound understanding that our attachment to how others see us is like trying to control the flight of birds across the sky. We can build elaborate cages of behavior, construct careful strategies to win approval, exhaust ourselves trying to manage our image, but ultimately others' opinions will fly where they will, following currents we cannot see, landing where we cannot predict. The Master Dogen, whose teachings flow like clear mountain water through the traditions of Zen, spoke of shikantaza, just sitting. Not sitting in order to achieve enlightenment, not sitting to become more peaceful or more respected, but sitting for the pure sake of sitting, complete in itself, requiring nothing from outside to validate its worth. This is the profound secret of letting go. When we release our grip on outcomes, on others' responses, on the need for external validation, we discover a completeness that was there all along, hidden beneath our reaching and grasping dot. Imagine now that you are a tree rooted deep in forest soil, your branches reaching toward the sky like prayers made manifest. Seasons come and go. Spring brings new growth, summer offers abundance, autumn strips away what is no longer needed, winter reveals your essential structure. Through all these changes, you remain rooted in something deeper than circumstance. You don't chase after the birds that might nest in your branches. Don't demand that every passerby notice your beauty. Don't wither when someone carves initials in your bark. You simply grow, season by season, moment by moment, expressing your tree nature with quiet dignity. This is what letting go truly means. Not becoming passive or indifferent, but discovering the deep rootedness that allows us to engage fully with life while remaining unattached to specific outcomes. When someone disrespects us, we can respond with appropriate action without needing that action to change their mind. We can speak our truth without requiring others to accept it. We can love without demanding love in return. In the Bhagavad Gita, that ancient dialogue between the human soul and divine wisdom, Krishna teaches Arjuna about nishkama karma, action without attachment to results. This is not a recipe for apathy, but an invitation to discover the joy of action itself, freed from the anxiety of needing particular outcomes. When we release our grip on how others should respond to us, we discover an extraordinary liberation. We can be authentically ourselves, without the exhausting burden of managing others' reactions. Feel this now, as you rest in the soft darkness of your room, as your body sinks deeper into the embrace of sleep. Feel how holding on to the need for respect is like trying to carry water in your cupped hands. The tighter you squeeze, the more quickly it slips away. But when you relax your grip, when you let your hands become like open lotus petals, you discover that you are not separate from the water at all. You are the awareness in which both water and hands appear, the space in which both holding and releasing take place. The ancient Taoist sages understood this profoundly. They spoke of the power of emptiness, the hollow of a cup that makes it useful, the space within a room that makes it livable, the silence between notes that makes music possible. When we empty ourselves of the need for external validation, we become like this sacred emptiness, not vacant or lacking, but spacious enough to accommodate anything that arises without being disturbed by it. There is a beautiful story from the Sufi tradition of a man who spent years trying to impress others with his spiritual accomplishments. He would sit in the marketplace, deep in meditation, hoping people would notice his holy demeanor. He would speak eloquently of divine mysteries, secretly delighting when others praised his wisdom. He would fast publicly, give charity with fanfare, pray where all could see, always carrying the secret hope that his piety would earn him respect and admiration. One day, an old beggar woman approached him and said simply, "When you are trying to be holy, who is it that is doing the trying?" The question pierced through all his pretense, like an arrow finding its mark. In that moment, he saw how exhausted he had become from constantly performing himself, constantly seeking approval, constantly trying to control how others perceived him. And in seeing this, something magnificent happened. He let go, not just of his need for approval, but of the very one who needed approval. And in that letting go, he discovered what he had been seeking all along, not respect from others, but the profound self-respect that comes from knowing one's true nature. This is the deepest teaching of letting go. Beloved listener, we don't release our attachment to others' opinions in order to get something else: more peace, more freedom, more authentic respect. We let go for the pure joy of letting go, for the intrinsic liberation that comes when we stop exhausting ourselves with the impossible task of controlling the uncontrollable. As you drift deeper into sleep, imagine yourself as a river flowing toward the sea. You don't struggle against the banks that contain you. Don't fight the rocks that create rapids. Don't resist the bends that take you in unexpected directions. You simply flow, carrying all that comes your way: leaves and debris, fish and fallen logs, carrying everything without clinging to anything, moving always toward the vast ocean that is your destination and your source. And in this flowing, you discover the ultimate secret. Letting go is not loss, but liberation. Not emptiness, but fullness. Not defeat, but the ultimate victory of remembering that you are not what you carry, but the flowing itself. You are not the respect or disrespect that others offer, but the awareness in which all such offerings arise and dissolve like morning mist in the warmth of an eternal sun. Asterisk, asterisk, in the sacred hour when night reaches its deepest point, when the world rests in the womb of darkness, and even dreams begin to dream themselves into new forms, we arrive at the heart of all seeking, the center of all longing. What does it mean to awaken? What is this freedom that every soul intuitively knows exists, even when it seems as distant as stars reflected in a mountain lake? Imagine yourself lying in a field of wildflowers at dawn, your body cradled by the soft earth, your face kissed by the first tentative rays of sunlight filtering through morning clouds. Around you, the world is stirring from its nighttime rest, birds beginning their morning songs, flowers opening their petals to greet the light, dewdrops catching and scattering rainbow fragments across the grass. You are not separate from this awakening. You are part of it, woven into the very fabric of consciousness, coming alive to itself. But something extraordinary happens in this moment of dawn awareness. You realize that you are not just witnessing this awakening. You are the awakening itself. You are not a separate observer watching consciousness emerge from sleep. You are consciousness itself, recognizing its own eternal wakefulness through the temporary dream of being a person lying in a field of flowers. This is the first taste of true awakening, the recognition that what we call enlightenment is not something we achieve, but something we already are and have simply forgotten. The word Buddha means awakened one. But what had Siddhartha awakened from? He had awakened from the dream of being a separate self, navigating a hostile world, seeking happiness in temporary pleasures and security in impermanent achievements. Under the Bodhi tree, in the deep stillness of that profound night, he discovered what mystics throughout the ages have pointed toward, that separation is an illusion, that the seeker and the sought are one, that what we long for we already are. Feel this truth now as you rest in the gentle embrace of approaching sleep. Feel how your awareness remains untouched by the day's experiences of respect or disrespect, approval or disapproval, success or failure. This awareness, this simple knowing that you exist, that you are conscious, that you are here, this has never been born and will never die. It was present when you were a child, will be present in your old age, remains constant through all the changes of body and mind and circumstance. This is what true awakening reveals. Not a new state of consciousness to be attained, but the recognition of the consciousness that has always been here, like discovering that you have been searching for your glasses while wearing them, or looking for a jewel that has been in your pocket all along. The freedom we seek is not freedom from the world, but freedom within the world, the freedom that comes from knowing ourselves as the awareness in which all experience unfolds. In the mystical traditions of ancient India, there developed a profound understanding of what they called Jivan Mukti, liberation while living. This was not the idea of escaping from life into some transcendent realm, but the recognition that life itself is the realm of the sacred, that every moment, including moments of apparent disrespect or conflict, is a perfect expression of the divine play of consciousness. A Jivan Mukta, a liberated being, walks through the world like sunlight, moving across the landscape, touching everything, illuminating everything, but never being stained or altered by anything it encounters. When someone attempts to disrespect such a being, it is like trying to insult the light that illuminates a room. The light simply continues to shine, neither offended by shadows nor diminished by darkness, recognizing that even shadows exist only because light is present. But here is the most beautiful aspect of true awakening. It does not make us inhuman or detached. Rather, it makes us more deeply human, more genuinely connected to all life. When we no longer need to defend a separate self, when we no longer fear the opinions of others, we discover an infinite capacity for authentic response. We can engage fully with the human drama while never forgetting the divine comedy that underlies it all. Picture a master actor on a stage, completely immersed in their role, feeling deeply the joys and sorrows of the character they portray. Yet beneath this total engagement lies the unshakable knowledge that they are not actually the character, they are the awareness playing the character. When the character is praised by other characters in the play, the actor doesn't become inflated. When the character is criticized or attacked, the actor doesn't become devastated. They respond authentically to what the script requires while remaining rooted in their true identity. This is the freedom that awakening brings, the freedom to play our human role completely, passionately, authentically, while never forgetting the awareness that is playing the role. We can feel hurt when disrespected, not because our essential nature is wounded, but because feeling is part of the human experience we are here to explore. We can respond to unkindness with appropriate boundaries or loving correction, not because we need to defend ourselves, but because clear response serves the awakening of all beings. In the Zen gardens of Kyoto, where every stone is placed with the precision of a prayer, and every grain of sand is raked into patterns that mirror the movements of water and wind, there exists a profound teaching about what they call everyday mind. This is not ordinary consciousness as opposed to enlightened consciousness, but the recognition that ordinary consciousness is enlightened consciousness when seen clearly. Washing dishes becomes meditation, walking becomes prayer, even being disrespected becomes an opportunity for deeper awakening. The great Zen master Joshu was once asked by a student, "What is the Buddha?" He replied simply, 3 pounds of flax. This seemingly cryptic answer points to the most radical truth of awakening. The sacred is not hidden behind the ordinary. It is the ordinary, seen with clear eyes. We don't need to become something other than what we are. We need to recognize what we have always been. Feel this recognition stirring now in the depths of your being, like dawn breaking after the longest night. You are not a person who sometimes experiences awareness. You are awareness itself, temporarily experiencing itself as a person. You are not a wave seeking to become the ocean. You are the ocean, playing at being a wave for the sheer joy of experiencing its own vastness from a particular point of view. And from this understanding comes the ultimate freedom. Freedom from the exhausting effort of trying to become something else. Freedom from the anxiety of protecting a self that was never separate to begin with. Freedom from the suffering that comes from believing we can be truly diminished by anything that appears in the realm of all form and change. This freedom is not earned through years of spiritual practice, though practice can help clear away the clouds that obscure it. It is not achieved through moral perfection, though love naturally flows from its recognition. It is not the result of accumulating wisdom, though wisdom is its natural expression. It is simply what we are when all the costumes of identity fall away, when all the stories of separation dissolve, when all the dreams of seeking end in the recognition that what we sought was never separate from the seeker. As you prepare to enter the realm of dreams, carry this understanding with you. You are already free, already awake, already whole. The journey of awakening is not about getting somewhere else, but about coming home to where you have always been. And where you have always been is here in this eternal moment, as the awareness in which all moments arise and dissolve like waves. In the ocean of being. Sleep now, beloved dreamer, knowing that even in sleep, you remain awake as the consciousness in which all dreams unfold. Rest in the profound freedom that no one can give you, because it cannot be taken away, for it is not separate from what you are. You are the freedom you seek, the peace you long for, the love you imagine is missing. You are the very awakening that all seeking points toward, the very liberation that all practice serves. And in this recognition, the question of respect and disrespect dissolves like morning mist in the warmth of the rising sun, revealed to have been nothing more than movements in the dream of separation, ripples on the surface of an ocean that was never disturbed, shadows cast by the light of your own eternal being. Asterisk, asterisk, in the profound depths of night, where silence reigns like a queen upon her throne, and even thoughts slow to the rhythm of a meditating heart, we discover the most sacred of all truths. Beneath every movement lies stillness. Beneath every sound lives silence. Beneath every experience of respect or disrespect rests an untouchable peace that is the very ground of our being. Imagine yourself descending now through layers of consciousness like a pearl diver sinking through the clear waters of a moonlit sea, past the surface waves of daily concerns, past the schools of thoughts swimming in endless circles, past the currents of emotion that flow like underwater rivers through the depths of the heart. Deeper and deeper you go, until you reach the ocean floor where perfect stillness dwells, not the stillness of death or emptiness, but the vibrant stillness that is the source of all movement, the pregnant silence from which all sounds are born. Here, in this sacred depth, You begin to understand what the ancient sages meant when they spoke of the eternal now, not a moment in time, but the timeless awareness in which all moments appear and disappear like bubbles rising from the ocean floor. This stillness is not the opposite of activity. It is the very medium in which all activity takes place. It is not the absence of experience, but the aware presence that allows all experience to be known, in the high mountains of Tibet, where the air is so thin it seems to carry prayers directly to the heavens. Monks speak of Rigpa, the natural state of awareness that is always present, always awake, always untouched by whatever appears within it. When clouds cover the mountain peaks, the mountains do not disappear. When storms rage across the slopes, the stone foundations remain unmoved. When seasons change and snow gives way to spring flowers, the essential nature of the mountain endures. Constant and serene. This is your true nature, dear friend, not the changing weather of thoughts and emotions that pass through your consciousness, not the temporary identities you wear, like clothes that can be put on and taken off, not even the body-mind that carries your presence through the world, like a vehicle carries a passenger. You are the mountain itself, the aware stillness in which all experiences arise and dissolve, the unchanging witness of all change. Feel this stillness now, this profound peace that exists in the space between breaths, in the pause between thoughts, in the eternal moment before sleep takes hold. Notice how it is not empty or vacant, but richly alive with potential, pregnant with infinite possibility. This is the stillness that cannot be disturbed by criticism, because it is not separate from what criticizes. This is the peace that cannot be shattered by disrespect, because it is the very awareness in which respect and disrespect appear as temporary waves on an eternal shore. The great mystic Rumi, whose poetry flows like wine, poured from the cup of divine intoxication, wrote, "In your light I learn how to love, in your beauty how to make poems. You dance inside my chest where no one sees you, but sometimes I do, and that sight becomes this art, this music, this form." What he was pointing to is this same still presence, the light of awareness that illuminates all experience, the beauty of consciousness that transforms even suffering into sacred art. When someone attempts to disrespect us, they are like a person throwing stones at the moon's reflection in a lake. The ripples spread across the surface, distorting the image temporarily, but the moon itself remains unchanged in the sky above. The lake returns to stillness, the reflection becomes clear again, and the moon continues to shine with the same serene radiance it has offered for millions of years. This is the profound teaching of stillness. We are not the reflection that can be disturbed, but the moon that shines eternally beyond the reach of any stone. We are not the surface of the lake that ripples with every disturbance, but the deep waters below that remain forever calm. We are not the temporary forms that dance in the light of consciousness, but the light itself unchanging, unborn, indestructible. This is the profound teaching of stillness. We are not the reflection that can be disturbed, but the moon that shines eternally beyond the reach of any stone. We are not the surface of the lake that ripples with every disturbance, but the deep waters below that remain forever calm. We are not the temporary forms that dance in the light of consciousness, but the light itself unchanging, unborn, indestructible in the meditation halls of ancient monasteries, where seekers sat in contemplation for lifetimes. There developed a practice of just sitting, not sitting to achieve anything, not sitting to become peaceful or enlightened, but sitting for the pure sake of sitting, complete in itself. This practice points to something profound, the recognition that we don't need to do anything to access our essential stillness. We don't need to quiet the mind or stop the flow of thoughts. We simply need to recognize the stillness that is already here, the awareness that is always present, watching thoughts come and go like clouds drifting across an endless sky. This stillness is not passive. It is the most dynamic force in the universe, the creative emptiness from which all form emerges, the aware space in which all drama unfolds, the loving presence that embraces all experience without being changed by any of it. When we rest in this stillness, our responses to life become spontaneous and perfect, arising not from reactive patterns, but from the wisdom of the moment itself. Imagine a master calligrapher, brush poised above rice paper, waiting in perfect stillness for the right moment to begin. The stillness is not separate from the action that will follow. It is the source of the action's perfection. From this deep stillness, the brush moves with effortless precision, creating characters of breathtaking beauty. Each stroke arises from emptiness and returns to emptiness, leaving behind traces of the eternal in temporal form. This is how we can live when we remember our true nature, responding to each moment, including moments of apparent disrespect, from the deep stillness of our being, rather than from the reactive patterns of the ego. Our words become like brushstrokes arising from silence, our actions like dance movements emerging from perfect rest. We engage fully with the world while remaining rooted in the stillness that is the source of all engagement. As you sink deeper into the approaching realm of dreams, feel this stillness embracing you like a mother's arms, supporting you like the earth beneath your body, surrounding you like the vast space that holds all the stars. This is not a stillness you create through effort or maintain through discipline. It is your natural state, as natural as wetness is to water or warmth is to fire. In this stillness, the question of whether you are respected or disrespected dissolves into irrelevance, not because you become indifferent to how others treat you, but because you recognize that what you truly are lies so far beyond the reach of others. Opinions that their respect or disrespect becomes like weather patterns in a distant sky, notable perhaps, but utterly unable to touch the serene depths of your being. The ancient Chinese sages spoke of Wu or Su, the void, the emptiness that is paradoxically full of all potential. This is not nihilistic emptiness, but the fertile void of pure awareness, a pregnant silence from which all sounds emerge, the clear space in which all colors appear. When we rest in this primordial stillness, we discover that we are not lacking anything, not seeking anything, not needing validation from anyone or anything outside ourselves. Sleep now, beloved friend, in the profound recognition that stillness is your deepest nature, that peace is not something you achieve, but something you are, that the awareness in which all dreams arise and dissolve is itself dream-free, untouched by the stories that play out within it. Rest in the knowing that no amount of worldly turbulence can disturb the profound stillness at the core of your being. For you are that stillness, temporarily dreaming itself into form for the sheer joy of experiencing its own infinite nature through the beautiful, limited perspective of a human life. And in this resting, this profound letting go into what you have always been, discover the ultimate freedom, the freedom from needing anything to be different than it is, including the freedom from needing others to see you clearly. For you are the seeing itself, the awareness in which all recognition takes place, the still point around which the entire universe dances in eternal celebration of its own mysterious existence. Asterisk, asterisk, in the cathedral of deep night, where darkness becomes a gentle teacher and silence speaks in languages older than words, we arrive at the most profound recognition of all. Why is stillness the deepest truth? Why does every authentic spiritual tradition, every genuine path of awakening, eventually lead us back to this primordial peace that exists before thought, before movement, before the very first stirring of the wind across the face of the deep? Picture yourself now as a child again, lying on your back in summer grass, gazing up at the vast expanse of sky above. Clouds drift by like great white ships sailing across an ocean of blue. Birds trace invisible pathways through the air. The sun journeys slowly from east to west. All this movement, all this activity, all this busy dance of form and change, yet What remains constant? What provides the stage upon which this cosmic drama unfolds? The sky itself vast, unchanging, spacious enough to accommodate everything while being disturbed by nothing. This is why stillness is the deepest truth, beloved dreamer, because it is the ground of all being, the canvas upon which all experience is painted, the awareness in which all stories arise and dissolve. It is not one thing among many things, but the very nature of consciousness itself, not consciousness of something, but consciousness as such, pure and simple, without object or boundary dot, in the sacred caves of ancient India, where yogis discovered truths that would illuminate humanity for millennia. There developed an understanding that reality consists of three fundamental aspects: the seer, the seeing, and the seen. But in the deepest stillness of meditation, something remarkable was discovered. These three collapse into one. The seer, the seeing, and the seen are revealed to be movements in the same field of awareness, waves on the same ocean of consciousness, dancers in the same cosmic ballet. When someone disrespects us, we imagine there is a someone who disrespects, a someone who is disrespected, and an act of disrespect occurring between them. But when we rest in the deepest stillness, we discover that all three are appearances in the same aware space-temporary formations in consciousness, like whirlpools in a river that seem separate but are nothing other than the flowing water. Itself doth feel this truth now, as you sink deeper into the realm of approaching dreams. Feel how all your experiences, thoughts, emotions, sensations, perceptions arise in the same field of awareness. This awareness doesn't take sides in the drama of your life. It doesn't prefer praise to blame, respect to disrespect, pleasure to pain. Like space itself, it accommodates everything with equal grace, equal presence, equal love. The great sage Nisargadatta, whose words pointed countless seekers toward their true nature, often said, "You are not what you take yourself to be." But he would also say something even more profound: "You are not even the one who is not what you take yourself to be." This points to the ultimate stillness, the recognition that even the seeker of truth, even the one who awakens, even the witness of all experience, is itself a movement in the deeper stillness that is the source and substance of all dot in the mystical traditions of ancient Persia, where poets and sages danced their way to divine union. There was a profound understanding of what they called fana, the dissolution of the separate self into the infinite. But this was not seen as annihilation or loss. Rather, it was recognized as the ultimate homecoming, the return to the stillness that we never actually left, the recognition of what we have always been beneath all the costumes of identity. Imagine a wave on the ocean suddenly remembering that it is water. Does the wave disappear? No, it continues to rise and fall, to dance and play, to interact with other waves. But now it knows itself as ocean, and this knowing transforms everything. The wave can no longer be insulted by other waves calling. Its small can no longer be flattered by praise of its magnificence. It knows itself as the very substance of which all waves are made. This is why stillness is the deepest truth, because it reveals the fundamental unity that underlies the apparent diversity of experience. In stillness, we discover that the one who seems to be disrespected and the one who seems to disrespect are both movements in the same field of awareness, both expressions of the same consciousness, both waves in the same infinite ocean of being. They, ancient Vedic seers, whose insights flow through the ages like rivers of light, spoke of Tat Tvam Asa, thou art that. What they were pointing to is this profound recognition. What you truly are is not separate from what appears to oppose you. The consciousness that looks out through your eyes is the same consciousness that looks out through the eyes of the one who seems to disrespect you. There is only one awareness, appearing as many, playing all the roles in the cosmic drama for the sheer joy of experiencing itself from every possible perspective. In the Zen temples of ancient China, masters would sometimes ask their students, "What is your original face before your parents were born?" This is not a riddle to be solved with the thinking mind, but a direct pointing to the stillness that exists before all identity, before all relationship, before all the stories that seem to define us. This original face is not a face at all, but the pure awareness that is our deepest nature, faceless, nameless, beyond all description, yet intimately closer than our own breath. When we rest in this primordial stillness, the whole question of vow, respect and disrespect is revealed to be like asking whether the sky minds being crossed by clouds, or whether the ocean objects to the waves that dance upon its surface. The sky is not separate from the clouds, the ocean is not separate from the waves, and awareness is not separate from any experience that arises within it. But here is the most beautiful mystery. This stillness is not static. It is vibrant with infinite creativity, pregnant with endless possibility, alive with the potential for every experience that could ever be. It is the stillness of a master musician's hand, poised above the strings, ready to birth any melody. It is the stillness of a dancer, balanced perfectly on the edge of movement, containing within herself every possible dance. From this dynamic stillness, compassion arises naturally, not as a forced response or a moral obligation, but as the spontaneous movement of love recognizing itself everywhere. When someone appears to disrespect us, compassion flows toward their suffering, their confusion, their temporary forgetting of what they truly are. We respond not from hurt or anger, but from the deep understanding that they too are expressions of the same awareness that we are not. As you prepare to surrender to the deep rest of sleep, feel yourself dissolving into this primordial stillness, like salt dissolving into the ocean. You are not losing yourself, but finding yourself. Not disappearing, but appearing as what you have always been. The stillness is not empty, but full of love, full of wisdom, full of the infinite potential that is your true nature. In the Islamic mystical tradition, there is a beautiful saying, "Wherever you turn, there is the face of Allah." What this points to is the same truth that all genuine spiritual traditions discover in their depths. There is only one reality appearing as many, only one consciousness wearing countless masks, only one stillness dancing as infinite movement. So we discover why stillness is the deepest truth of all, because it is not separate from anything, excludes nothing, and yet remains forever untouched by what appears within it. It is the truth that sets us free, not free from the world, but free to engage with the world from the deepest place of understanding, the most profound love, the most unshakable peace. Sleep now, dear friend, in the recognition that you are. This stillness, this awareness, this love that has no opposite. Rest in the knowing that no experience, no matter how challenging, no matter how seemingly disrespectful, can disturb the profound peace that is your essential nature. For you are that peace, dreaming briefly of being a person, playing temporarily at being separate, but never actually leaving the stillness that is your eternal home. Asterisk, asterisk, in the gentle hours before dawn, when the world exists in that sacred liminal space between sleeping and waking, between the known and the mysterious, we find ourselves walking alongside the eternal companions of the human soul rivers that flow with ancient wisdom, stars that shine with the light of pure awareness, moonlight that bathes all things in silver understanding, and mountains that stand as silent witnesses to the dance of time. Come now, beloved traveler, and let us follow the path of the great river that winds through the landscape of your being. This river has flowed since before your birth, and will continue flowing long after your body returns to dust. Its waters carry the memories of every joy and sorrow, every moment of respect and disrespect that has ever touched your life. Yet the river itself remains eternally fresh, eternally pure, eternally moving toward the vast ocean of its source. Listen to the river's song as it flows over smooth stones, worn by centuries of patient water, around bends that reveal new vistas of understanding. The river speaks in the language of continuous becoming, never the same from one moment to the next, yet somehow always perfectly itself. It teaches us that we, too, are flows rather than things, processes rather than objects, movements in consciousness, rather than solid, separate selves that can be wounded by harsh words or elevated by praise. Watch how the river receives everything: fallen leaves and flower petals, rain and snow, the occasional stone thrown by a careless hand. It accepts all offerings with the same gracious flowing, transforming everything it touches, carrying everything toward the sea. When someone drops pollution into its waters, the river doesn't stop flowing in protest. It receives what is given and begins immediately the work of purification, using its own movement in time and the alchemy of natural processes to transform poison into harmlessness. This is how we can learn to live, dear friend, as rivers of consciousness, flowing always toward the ocean of our source, receiving what comes with grace, transforming what needs transforming, carrying all experiences toward the vast peace that awaits us. We cannot be stopped by obstacles. We flow around them. We cannot be permanently polluted by others' negativity. We have the power to transform and purify through our own natural movement toward love above us. As we walk beside this inner river, the sky spreads like a dark silk tapestry studded with countless points of light. Each star is a sun, burning with the fire of its own being, requiring nothing from the darkness around it to maintain its radiance. The stars do not compete with each other for attention. Do not dim their light when other stars shine brightly nearby. Do not cease their burning when clouds occasionally obscure them from our view. See how each star is both utterly unique and intimately connected to every other star, all swimming in the same cosmic ocean, all made of the same fundamental starlight, all participating in the same grand dance of existence. This is the deepest truth about respect and disrespect. Beloved dreamer, we are all stars in the constellation of consciousness, all shining with the same essential light, all worthy of reverence simply by virtue of our existence. When someone appears to disrespect us, they are like a star temporarily obscured by cosmic dust, their true radiance hidden behind clouds of confusion and suffering. But the light is still there, will always be there, waiting for the clouds to pass. Our role is not to demand that they shine more brightly, but to continue shining ourselves, trusting that light calls to light, that love recognizes love, that stars find their way to each other across the vast distances of space and time. Feel yourself now as one of these ancient lights, burning with the quiet dignity of cosmic fire. Your radiance does not depend on others seeing it, does not increase when praised or decrease when criticized. You shine because it is your nature to shine, because you are made of the same light that illuminates galaxies and dreams, the same awareness that gives birth to worlds and dissolves them back into the mystery from which they came. And see how the moon, that ancient companion of earthly nights, bathes this entire scene in silver luminosity. The moon teaches us perhaps the most profound lesson of all about the nature of reflected light. The moon produces no light of its own, yet it illuminates the darkness, guides travelers, inspires poets, and moves the very oceans with its gentle presence. It waxes and wanes, appears to grow and shrink, yet its essential nature remains unchanged. Throughout all these cycles. This is how we can understand our relationship to respect and disrespect. Like the moon reflecting the light of the sun, we can reflect the respect we receive without being defined by it, can remain luminous even when criticism seems to eclipse our brightness. The phases of the moon teach us that seeming diminishment is just part of a larger cycle, that what appears to wane will inevitably wax again, that fullness and emptiness are both necessary aspects of the eternal dance. Moonlight transforms everything. It touches harsh landscapes become gentle. Ordinary objects become mysterious. Even weeds in wild places acquire a beauty that daylight cannot reveal. This is what happens when we learn to see through the eyes of deep understanding. Even moments of disrespect become opportunities for grace. Even difficult people become teachers wearing the mask of challenge. Even our own reactions become gateways to greater self-knowledge. In the distance, eternal and patient, stand the mountains, those silent witnesses to all the dramas that play out in the valleys below. The mountains know something about permanence that rivers, stars, and moons can teach us in different ways. They have watched civilizations rise and fall, have seen countless humans struggle with the same fundamental questions about worth and meaning that we face today. Yet the mountains are not indifferent to the human drama. They participate in it fully while remaining unattached to any particular outcome. They provide shelter and challenge, beauty and obstacle, remaining always themselves while serving whatever needs arise. Snow melts on their peaks and forms the rivers that nourish the valleys. Storms rage against their faces, yet they stand firm. Time itself seems to slow in their presence, reminding us that there are rhythms deeper than our daily concerns, perspectives vaster than our personal stories. When we learn to embody mountain nature, we discover that we can be both immovable and infinitely giving, both unshakable and deeply responsive to the needs of the moment. We stand firm in our essential nature while allowing our surface to change. With the seasons of experience, we provide stability for others while remaining rooted in something deeper than any external validation. Feel yourself now as all of these at once: the flowing river of consciousness, the shining star of awareness, the luminous moon of reflected wisdom, the enduring mountain of presence. You are the landscape through which your own life moves, a stage upon which all dramas of respect and disrespect play out their temporary scenes. As the first hints of dawn begin to touch the eastern horizon, as this long night of gentle teaching prepares to give way to the rest that awaits you. Rest in the profound recognition that you are both the dreamer and the dream, both the seeker and the sought, both the question and the answer. You are the river flowing toward the sea of your own being, the star shining with the light of your own awareness, the moon reflecting the eternal sun of consciousness, the mountain rooted in the unshakable ground of what you truly are. And in this recognition, all questions about respect and disrespect dissolve like morning mist before the rising sun. For how can rivers disrespect rivers? How can stars diminish stars? How can the moon insult the moon? How can mountains be threatened by mountains? There is only one light appearing as many flames, only one awareness dancing as countless forms, only one love wearing all the faces that have ever looked back at you from the mirror of relationship. Sleep now, beloved friend, as rivers sleep by flowing, as stars sleep by shining, as the moon sleeps by illuminating, as mountains sleep by standing firm in their eternal stillness. Rest in the knowing that what you are cannot be disrespected because it is the very source of all respect, cannot be diminished because it is the fullness that knows no opposite, cannot be wounded because it is the healing that mends all wounds. End. So, dear companion of this moonlit journey, we arrive at the gentle shore where all rivers of wisdom ultimately flow, the ocean of understanding that embraces everything and rejects nothing, the vast heart of compassion that sees through all appearances to the luminous truth that connects every being in the web of existence. Tonight, as we have walked together through the gardens of ancient wisdom and sailed across the seas of timeless understanding, we have discovered what the great teachers have always known, that what we truly are cannot be disrespected any more than the sky can be stained by clouds, any more than the ocean can be wounded by waves, any more than space can be filled by the objects that appear within it. We have learned that respect and disrespect are like weather patterns in the atmosphere of human interaction, temporary, ever-changing, ultimately powerless to alter the fundamental nature of what we are. We have seen how the wave that believes itself separate from the ocean suffers in ways that the wave that knows itself as ocean never could. We have walked with monks and sages, have sat by lotus ponds and mountain streams, have gazed up at stars that shine with our own deepest light. Like pilgrims returning from a sacred journey, we carry with us now the understanding that freedom does not come from controlling how others see us, but from remembering how vast we truly are. We have discovered that peace is not the absence of challenge, but the recognition that we are the awareness in which all challenges arise and dissolve like dreams in the infinite mind of the cosmos. Stories we have shared tonight of the scene. Old monk Tenzin, whose smile could not be broken by cruelty, of the master who received insults as gifts, of the river that transforms all that flows through it. These are not mere tales, but mirrors reflecting our own deepest nature. Each story has been an invitation to remember what we have always known in the depths of our being, that we are not separate waves struggling on the surface of existence, but the ocean itself, playing at being waves for the pure joy of experiencing its own vastness from countless unique perspectives. As the gentle darkness of sleep approaches like a soft-winged moth drawn to the flame of consciousness, feel how all the day's experiences, moments of kindness and moments of difficulty, times when you felt seen and appreciated, and times when you felt overlooked or misunderstood, feel how all of these have been waves on the surface of your being, temporary movements in the eternal stillness that you are. Let this understanding settle into your bones like warmth from a glowing hearth, like honey dissolving into warm milk, like starlight finding its reflection in still water. You are not a person who sometimes experiences awareness. You are awareness itself, temporarily dreaming of being a person, playing hide and seek with your own infinite nature through the beautiful game of human existence. Thank you, beloved friend, for sharing this quiet path with me tonight. Thank you for opening your heart to these whispered teachings, for allowing these ancient truths to find new life in the sanctuary of your listening. In a world that often seems to have forgotten the deeper dimensions of being, you have chosen to remember. In times when many are caught in the surface storms of drama and reactivity, you have chosen to dive deeper, to explore the calm depths where peace reigns eternal. Know that what we have shared tonight is not merely information to be stored in memory, but medicine for the soul, food for the deepest hunger, water for the most profound thirst. Carry these understandings not as concepts to be grasped by the mind, but as living truths to be embodied in your daily dance with existence. Let them inform how you move through the world, how you respond to both praise and blame, how you meet both friend and stranger with the recognition that underneath all the costumes of personality, all beings share the same essential nature. When tomorrow brings its own challenges, and it may, for the world is still learning to see, truly remember the river that flows around obstacles. Remember the mountain that stands firm in its own nature while providing shelter for all who seek it. Remember the stars that shine not because they are seen, but because it is their nature to shine. Remember that you are all of these, the flowing, the standing firm, the shining with your own inner light. If someone speaks harshly to you, let their words pass through you like wind through an open window, like light through clear glass, like sound through the vast space of the sky. Respond if response is needed. Set boundaries if boundaries serve the highest good, but never forget that what you truly are remains untouched, undiminished, eternally whole. If someone praises you, receive their words like flowers offered to the altar of your being. Appreciate the beauty of their recognition, but remember too that your worth was complete before their praise and remains complete regardless of whether such praise ever comes again. You are not made whole by others' approval, any more than the sun is made bright by our acknowledgement of its radiance. And in the quiet moments in meditation, in prayer, In the simple pause between thoughts, return again and again to the stillness that is your deepest home. Rest in the awareness that has been your constant companion since the first moment of your existence. The presence that will remain when all the stories of your life have been told. The love that you are beneath all the roles you played as the night deepens around you like a gentle embrace, as your body settles into the soft refuge of your bed, as your mind begins its gradual release from the concerns of the day. Know that you are not alone. You are held by the same loving awareness that cradles every star in its course, that guides every river to the sea, that breathes every breath and beats every heart throughout the vast expanse of creation. Wherever you rest your head tonight, whether in a simple room or a grand house, whether in a busy city or quiet countryside, whether surrounded by family or blessed with solitude, may peace find you. May the deepest teachings of the Dharma light your dreams like candles burning in a temple. Sanctuary. May you awaken tomorrow not just from sleep, but into ever deeper recognition of the magnificent truth of what you are not. And may all beings everywhere, those who love you and those who challenge you, those who understand you and those who seem to see you only dimly, those who walk the path of awakening consciously, and those who serve that awakening unconsciously through their very presence in your life. May all beings discover what you are discovering, that we are one awareness appearing, as many, one love wearing countless faces, one peace expressing itself through infinite forms. The ancient bells of distant temples seem to ring now across the landscape of consciousness, not calling us to any particular practice or belief, but celebrating the simple fact of our existence, honoring the mystery of awareness, knowing itself through the beautiful complexity of human experience. These bells ring for you, beloved friend, recognizing in you the same awakening that has graced every saint and sage, the same light that shines in every star, the same love that moves the sun and moon and all the wheeling constellations in their eternal dance. Sleep deeply now, dream beautifully, and wake whenever you do with the gentle remembrance that you are the dreamer, the dream and the awakening all at once. You are the question and the answer, the seeker and the sought, the river and the ocean to which all rivers flow. Good night, dear friend. Be well, be at peace. Be what you have always been, infinite awareness, playing in the garden of form, eternal love expressing itself through the temporary and precious gift of this human life. May your rest be profound, your dreams illuminated with understanding, and your awakening, both tomorrow morning and in the deepest sense filled with the joy of coming home to yourself. And remember, should you ever doubt this truth we have explored together tonight, you are loved beyond measure, valued beyond calculation, respected by the very universe that brought you into being. For you are not separate from that universe. You are its very consciousness, its heart, its capacity to know and love itself. Rest in this knowing and let it carry you safely through the gentle darkness into the light of a new dawn.